Uh, so we are talking about the time study, and we have talked about the elementary things related with the time study, like what are the things needed for conducting a time study, and what are the basic steps or procedural steps of conducting the time study. Like it starts with the selection of the job which is to be studied. Thereafter, uh, uh, checking the method which is to be studied, especially for the setting the time standard, then breaking the job into the elements, then timing the different means quantifying the time of the different elements, rating the performance, and then calculations of the standard time using the observed time, performance rating, and the allowances. Okay, so today we'll talk a little more details of the way by which the job is broken into the different elements, the need and benefits of doing this, like breaking the job into the smaller elements. And then second aspect about which we'll be talking is how many observations we should conduct so that there is a good confidence level, and the more accuracy as per the requirement. So the number of observations to be taken for the time study, so that it is reasonably good, because there are different methods for different purposes. They are used depending upon the job cycle time. So these are the two main things about which I'll be talking today. So we'll start with this. The who can be used as a worker for conducting the time study. So like the qualities in a worker for conducting the time study, as I said, he should have the necessary skills and experience. Like you have seen the learning curve. Now the curve, this time required to do the job becomes constant with the increase in number of cycles for which a person is having experience. So you can see here a number of cycles or number of years, and this is time. So experience plays a big role. Initially in the learning stage, the worker may take longer time, and then it becomes constant. So the time study is conducted on the experienced worker, so that this time, whenever he does a particular job, the time by and large remains constant. Then the worker has to be average. This is very important. This is a hypothetical thing, although like few workers may be taking longer time. Say this is the time. Few workers may be taking very long time. So here, okay, and few workers may be taking very short time, and there may be many workers who are taking some average time value. So if we go in this way in the time scale, so very less time, very few by few workers, and very long time few other workers, and average time by most of the workers. So who are those workers uh, for which average time is the time for which is taken by most of the workers. So the average worker is one which represents to the lot, and most of the workers take around that much time only. So for the study, basically average worker is chosen, and the worker chosen for the time study should be temperamentally suitable. Many times the people become very cautious, they make mistakes. So a person is chosen in such a way that he is fit for, temperamentally he is fit for the study, and he has the knowledge of the job or the purpose for which the time study is being conducted. If it is just to identify the productive, non-productive thing, identifying the ineffective time, or setting the time standard, or identifying the standard output which will be used for developing the incentive plans. Okay, so this is one thing, like how to set the worker. Now the method for which the time study is to be conducted has to be checked to see if the time standard is to be set, then the method must be correct. Okay, so how to check that the correctness? So obviously the method being followed by the workers has to be compared with the standard practice sheet. So before timing or doing the time study, the observations will be made to see what are the kind of procedural or methods, procedural steps or methods being followed by the workers. Okay, so that is compared with the standard practice sheet, and if there is any other element or anything which is not the part of the work, that has to be highlighted or underlined. It is possible that workers may use the different tools, machines, setup, parameters, temperature, flow rate, etc. So any variable which is not prescribed or anything which is being used by worker is not according to the standard practice sheet, then that also can be highlighted or that will be identified. So it has to be anything that can affect the time to complete the job has to be checked, that what is the current thing which is being followed and for which the time study is to be conducted. Like we may get low production rate and longer time to complete the job due to the worn out tool or the wrong tool geometry kind of thing, like in case of the machining. Okay, and less frequent jobs. See, it is possible that few jobs or few steps will be happening, say quarterly or bi-yearly or 6 monthly or like say monthly only. So those which are less frequent jobs, the careful record of that has to be identified. Once the instructions are received, then those will be implemented say for next 1 month or next 2 months. So the receiving the instructions and the time consumed in receiving the instructions also has to be accounted for, but that will be happening very occasionally. Okay, so less frequent jobs, in case of the less frequent jobs, this has to be identified with the care, like if it is happening in routine or a regular interval or it is occasional element. Similarly, the short cycle jobs which are really difficult to check, like making the light assemblies, packing of the food or packing of the things. Here lot of things means the time consumed may depend a lot on the way by which the worker is applying himself during the job, like change in arms or the hand movement during the performance of the jobs. So these are more difficult to check as compared to the macro scale job, where the job is completed in say few minutes or few hours. So the method for which or the job for which time study is to be done should be checked to see if the job is being done as per the standard practice sheet or not. Okay, now so the job has to be the different types of the elements. Every job is broken. Job for which time study is to be conducted is broken into the different elements. So we'll talk in detail little bit about these. The different elements, breaking of the job into the different elements. So what is an element and how the job is broken into the different elements? So an element of a job, you can say a distinct part of the job, which is identified as per our convenience of observation. See, it is a specific, like say the job involves like these number of things. Okay, so one element can be identified this much also, or this much part. This will depend upon like what is more convenient for the observations, measurement of time, or for the analysis. So you can say it is the job is a distinct an element is a distinct part of the job which is being studied, and that is identified on the basis of convenience of observation, measurement and analysis. So now this may be of 10 minutes, so here one element is of 4 minutes, and here this may be of like say just 20 seconds, so one element may be of just 3 seconds. So it depends like what is more convenient for us and which can separate out the different features or the components related with the job effectively. So that's how it is identified. So an element is a distinct part of the job which is identified based on the convenience of observation, measurement and analysis. Okay, and what is the work cycle? Like these two words will be coming very frequently now. Work cycle is about when the different elements are done in a particular sequence of different elements needs to be done, sequence in which the different elements needs to be performed or needs to be done for completing the job. Okay, so work cycle involves the sequence of the different elements which need to be performed to complete the job. So work cycle may be of 20 minutes as I said, or it may be of just 5 seconds, which will involve the different elements E1, E2, E3, etc. So these the job of 5 seconds or 20 seconds is to be broken. So the job has to be broken into the different elements, and whatever these elements, when these are performed in particular seconds, whatever the time is taken to complete all these elements, that will be termed as cycle time or work cycle time. Okay, so here you see the job is having say 5 different elements. Okay, E4 and E5. Now each of these elements is timed, means the time for each of these elements is identified. Like it is possible that E4 takes the 10 minutes, E2 takes just 2 minutes, E1 takes 3 minutes, and E5 takes 6 minutes, and this is 5 minutes. So the work cycle is total is say 26 minutes cycle, and out of these see the element which takes the longest time is E4. So this you can say as a governing element, the element which is taking the longest time as compared to the other elements. Okay, so on the different types of elements I will talk little later. So the timing for each of the element is identified. Then when these elements are, when the timing of these elements is done, so depending upon the nature of element, if it is being done by man or it is being done by machine, will be also determining the performance rating, PR. So for each element the performance rating is determined, and then so this observed time, that is say 26, and the PR is multiplied. So this is actually done for each of the element. Performance rating is identified for each of the element, and then it is added with the allowances. Okay, so that is done. That's how the standard time is determined. Now, as I said, when there is a job, and if it is say timed using this stopwatch coming out to be 26 minutes, what is the need to break the job into the different elements? So it is possible, you see there are various reasons for breaking the job into the different elements. The one point is like a worker may be or workers may be very convenient to do certain elements of the job, and they may find extremely difficult to do some other elements, like say E3 is very easy to perform as compared to E4. So E4 is a very unpopular kind of the element because it requires a lot of efforts and exertions and highly unpopular. So when a complete job is broken into the different elements, the jobs which are very easy, the workers will be performing very effectively, very fast, so their rating will be high. Performance rating for those elements will be high, while the jobs which are difficult to perform, more fatigue causing, the rating for those elements will be low. So when a job is broken into the different elements, our accuracy of performance rating is increased, and that is more helpful in setting the more rationalized standard time, because we are each of the element is being given a different kind of treatment with regard to the performance rating as per the nature of the job. Few jobs which are very easy, simple and convenient, the performance rating will be high, while those which are difficult to perform, performance rating will be low. So if say E4 is difficult to perform and it takes 10 minutes, performance rating certainly will be coming out say 70%, while for others it is say 90%, 95%. Okay, so now you can identify more precisely that how much fatigue allowance has to be given. It is not necessary to give the equal allowance to all the elements, because few elements may be performed by the machines. Few elements are just like they are very easy to perform and there is no fatigue. So the first part is like accuracy of performance rating is enhanced. That is good to set the rationalized standard time. Okay. Second is, as I said, it helps in identifying the fatigue causing elements which are unpopular and fatigue causing elements. Once those are identified and their duration is identified, you can give more rationalized fatigue allowance. So this helps in identifying how much fatigue allowance is to be given. Like say, as a policy, if the 10% fatigue allowance is to be given, then it will not be given on the 26 minutes of the total work cycle, but it will be given 10% of this fatigue causing element which takes the 10 minutes to perform, like E4. So the fatigue allowance will be given on selected fatigue causing elements as per their nature or as per their severity. Okay, these are the two very important things reasons related with the breaking of the job into the elements. Other important points like you are able to get the time for the different activities, like how much time it takes to pick up the job, how much time it takes to hold the job, how much time it takes to set the machine, how much time it takes to measure the dimensions, how much time it takes to put the job aside. So basically the database for standard data method is developed. So that is good part. So once the database is developed, subsequently you can come out with the time required to do a job without actually performing the job. So creation of the database happens for certain common elements which are regular part of most of the jobs. Okay, I'll explain how it happens and what are those things. Then here one more thing is, when the job is broken into the number of elements and the time for each of the element is identified, it is just like say dissection of something. You have the precise details of each and every thing related with the procedural method or the job which is being done. So you are able to develop detailed work specification. Okay, you are able to develop when the job is broken into the different elements and the timing for each element is developed along with the other details. So you are able to have the more detailed work specification. And the lastly, you it also helps in separating out the productive and the non-productive elements related with the job, something which is not really helping in, so those can be eliminated in subsequent approaches. Like based on this, you can also apply the method study for improvement if there is a high percentage of the ineffective time. So accuracy of the performance rating is enhanced, identifying the fatigue causing elements, database is generated, and then develop the detailed work procedure specification and separation of the productive and non-productive elements. So these are the 5 ways by which the breaking of the job into the different element is found to be helpful. Now what these elements are and how do we break them? Okay, so to know about this we have to see like say there are 8 types of the elements, in which are common type. There are 8 types of the elements which are usually found in which the job is broken. Okay, so like the one is, so there are 8 types. So one is repetitive element which is repeated in every job. Okay, it is just like holding the job on the machine or locating the job on the machine or measurement of the dimensions or putting aside the finished job. So something which is repeated every time the job is done. Okay, so repetitive, the kind of element which is repeated in every work cycle, like holding of the job or putting aside the finished job. Then occasional elements will not be happening in every work cycle. These may happen randomly. Means these will not be happening in every work cycle. These may occur at regular or irregular intervals, but not in every work cycle. So here the repetitive elements will be happening in every work cycle, and this is not in every work cycle, right? But these can occur like randomly or at regular or irregular intervals. Like these may occur like every fortnightly, weekly. The element will be happening like fortnightly, weekly, or monthly, or like say first it is done once, it is done after 5 days, then another time it is happening like say after 10 days or 12 days. So it may happen in regular or irregular manner, but certainly these are not the part of the each work cycle. So this is about the frequency when it is happening. So this classification of the element repetitive or occasional element definition is based on their occurrence, when they are occurring. Okay, then there is a constant element. So the element for which the basic time is constant, you see, it is always constant, like switch on the machine or measure something, that is constant. So here whenever this element is performed, the basic time to perform the element is constant. Okay, and variable element for which that basic time requirement changes with some characteristics, like if the small job is to be turned, it may take 1 minute. If the job length is doubled, it may take 2 minutes. So if the time required to clean a floor area of the half size, it may take 10 minutes, and if it is of the double size, it may take 20 minutes. So like that. So the variable element, those which the basic time for these variable elements will be linked with some characteristics, some feature or characteristics of the job, and that will be changing like linearly or depending upon the kind of the job characteristics it is. So this is about the kind of time it takes. If the time is constant, it is constant element. If the time is changing with some characteristics of the job, it is variable element. Then how the job is done, like manual elements, those which are done by the man during the, like, so the turning is being done manually, or the turning is being done through automatic feed. So machine elements or manual elements, the job is done manually or the job is done by the machine. So when the job is done by the man or the woman, we go for performance rating, and when job is done by the machine automatically without any intervention of the man or then the no performance rating is done, and in general performance rating is considered to be 100%. Okay, so this is how they have been. We have talked about 6: two repetitive and occasional, constant and variable, and the manual and the machine elements. Then we have two more elements. These are depending upon their again characteristics, like as I said, governing elements. Governing element, the element or a section of the job which consumes most of the time. Okay, so the element which consumes most of the time, or the biggest element in the job cycle. Just for example, when tea is being prepared, so the tea preparation will take the longest time as compared to the other activities related with the tea. Those are like setting the cups or cleaning, etc. So when certain activities, the activity which consumes most of the time, or the element which is biggest in nature consumes most of the time, and when that element is being performed, at the same time you can do other smaller elements also. So that's the governing element. And then foreign element. Foreign element is one which is not the part of the job procedure. So an element which has been incorporated in the work method actually is not there in the standard data sheet or a standard methodology for conducting the job. So one element which is unnecessary and it is not actually the part of the job will be considered as a foreign element. So these are the 8 different types of the elements. Okay, so this is what I have already mentioned here, the different types of the elements, like a repetitive element. Okay, so repetitive elements locating the workpiece, occasional elements does not occur in every work cycle. They may happen at regular or irregular intervals. Then constant element, basic time remains constant. Variable elements, basic time varies with some characteristics. Then manual or machine elements, as I've already talked. Then governing elements takes longer time than the other elements, like setting the tea pots and cups while the tea is being cooked. And then foreign elements which is not found to be the part of the job after the analysis. So these were the different elements. Breaking job into elements. As I have said earlier, while defining the element is like it is a distinct part of the job which is identified based on our convenience of the measurement, observation and analysis. But there are a few guidelines, like the one is there is some definite you can say the definite start or end point that is considered as the breaking points. There is sudden change in direction or one event is completed. Okay, so these are like can have definite start or the end points can be considered as a definite beginning or with the definite beginning and end points. Like the job is picked and then it is held on the machine after positioning, so locating and holding the job. Sometimes we do lot of clubbing of the different actions also. For example, move the hand towards the range, reach the range, grasp the range, then move the range towards the assembly, then position the range. All these things can be clubbed. So like the smaller events like reach, the grasp, move the range and then position the range, all these things can be simply clubbed, like get the range simple or get and position the range for assembly purpose. So things can be clubbed as per the convenience of the observations as well as the timing of those elements. Okay, then another thing is like how big or how small element can be. Okay, so technically the element should be big enough for reliable measurement. Okay, element should be big enough for facilitating the reliable measurement. And how do we do that? Like smallest element is usually in practice is followed like 3 to 6 seconds. This is the kind of smallest element, and the elements which are larger than 20 seconds are considered as a big element or the long elements. Okay, so to increase so depending upon the job cycle duration or the size of the elements, this is normally the kind of practice. Smallest element size is this in this band, or the elements which are bigger than the 20 seconds will be considered as a large element. Okay, so definite start and end, and depending upon the duration the elements are also broken. And then you see, so as I said, just reaching may be taking just 1.5 seconds, and the grasping and moving again positioning, all these elements may be taking 10 seconds. So we can club so many smaller events to make one element as per our convenience. And the jobs can also be broken to see, like separating the manual and machine elements. This can be done very effectively. Then the jobs can also be broken in such a way that the constant and variable elements are segregated separately, and then occasional and foreign elements also are segregated separately. Okay, so these are other things like come out what are the occasional and what are the foreign elements, what are the manual and machine elements, and what are the constant and variable elements. So whenever you find that there is a manual or machine element, constant or variable element, or occasional or foreign element, so you just try to break the job considering these different types of the elements apart from the duration and those with the definite start and the end point. Okay, so that's how the job can be broken into the different elements, and the different elements associated with the job can be identified. Okay, now you have seen earlier also, like to be more precise, to be more accurate, we have to do the more and more number of observations. Okay, but it's not like we can go for infinite or very large numbers of the observations, which may be uneconomical also. So there are three methods which are usually followed for determining the number of observations to be taken for the time study, and these are the there are three methods. Okay, there are three methods. One is standard tables have been developed by the different companies. We can, depending upon their the work cycle duration and their frequency, they have identified or they have optimized their own number of observations to be taken for reasonably correct the time for establishing the time standard. Okay, so there is nothing like 95% confidence level or 5% confidence level which is used in a statistical method. So the companies have developed their own tables for determining the number of observations depending upon the frequency of occurrence and the duration of work cycle. Then Mundell method is the another one which is used based on the this is also based on the kind of the data that we are getting from the observations and the kind of discrepancy or the variability which exists. What is the highest value, what is the lowest value, and what is the cycle duration, and how many number of observations are being taken. Okay, then the statistical method, of course, that is also there. So if we need more accuracy, then more number of observations, or if we need lesser accuracy, then fewer number of observations. So that again will depend upon the work cycle time.